Sandeep is president and board member of People Strong, which is a comprehensive HR tech solutions company. And he is also an independent director with Burger King, besides all the other things that he does. From what I hear through the grapevine, Sandeep, or Sandy as he's very lovingly called by his colleagues, is a multi talented human being. He is a wonderful, compassionate, and thoughtful leader. He's a father and a husband, and he's also an absolute fitness enthusiast, which made me a complete fan of the gentleman. Hi, a very warm welcome and deep gratitude to you for being part of Life Begins at 40.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me over, and an absolute pleasure, Sanjana. There is nothing iconic about me, but looking forward to this wonderful chat. It feels like a bit like coffee with Karan, or
Yeah,
coffee with Sanjana. Let me put it that way.
but what makes Sandeep the human that he is?
First of all, I just want to say that that actually talks volumes about the people that you've been speaking with. So they must be great human beings themselves to give me so much of acknowledgement for what they've been able to do in their lives. But I have been lucky to be surrounded with some amazing, amazing people. Uh, what makes me a human, and I think that's quite like what would make everybody a human. But if I was to take a stab at describing myself today, I guess a lot of who I am today would have to do with my early years that were spent growing up in Himachal in a middle class household and observing my father in literally every role that he performed. So, since I came from a beautiful state of Himachal Pradesh, I saw nature very, very up close. I fell in love with nature. And if you go very deep in nature, you'll begin to understand that how inconsequential we are in the larger scheme of things around us. So I guess that's really one very deep sense that I kind of grew up with. And a middle class household like yours or like mine, I grew up with enough of everything but access of nothing. So we had abundant love, abundant food, sports, education, but very limited money. And I guess the first thing that made me realize was that the real currency in life is relationships and friendships, and they would mean far more valuable things than money can ever buy. And I also learned observing my father that uh, the real meaning of happiness is in the balance of life.
Yeah.
And I grew up taking pride in smaller values of honesty, hard work, discipline, gratitude, belief in God, being fearless, certainly having very, very deep respect for freedom fighters, soldiers, and the contribution that they've essentially made to get us to where we are today.
Wonderful. So, 2 decades of career. And what lessons have you learned at different stages that guided you through this evolution?
Yeah, 2 decades of career might sound long, and it's difficult to kind of quickly sum it up. But one, I do have the satisfaction that I guess I've been able to live these 20, 21 years to the fullest, and I've been blessed to have a way that I can continue to live them. It's certainly been a bit of a rolling of a dice for me. If I was to reflect back, I started my career way back in 1998. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a long-winded answer to this. When I started my career, all that I believed was the best way to live was to work hard and to party hard. And if I was not getting successful at something or if I was falling short on some results, all that I knew was that I had to work harder. I guess in 2001 is really when we saw the first aftershocks of the dot-com bust, and that gave me the realization that working hard has its limits. For some of the MBA aspirants who are watching your show would know that back then I was still in the Six Sigma world where efficiency and productivity were the king. 2005, I guess, was a wake up year for many of us because we found ourselves to be living in the India shining moment most businesses and people were growing, and including me, with a very, very strong India tailwind, which was just taking the economy up and up. And because of that, many of us just kind of grew, only to see the unsurmountable Lehman Brothers crash in front of our eyes. Uh, and that was a lot unreal in the year 2008. That
Yeah.
certainly told that many things are going to change and they will never be the same. I guess the realization that I had during the time was that uh, it is uh, uh, it is giving too much of credit to oneself in good times and blame uh, in bad times. And it is the world, and it's going to go through its own ups and downs, and it is with or without you most of the times. In the year 2009, we were coming to uh, we were seeing the early signs of revival. In this period, one has certainly discovered several unused muscles. It was a great time to realign, to refocus, to rebuild myself. And also, that's the time that I became a father, so I automatically started to find a little bit of balance in my life. And that's also the time, as you rightly said, my affair with my long distance running started. Uh,
Oh, okay.
2000, yeah, 2013 to 2018, disruption, VUCA was kind of shaping the businesses world over. Fortune 100 list was being redefined. Chinese and technology companies were unstoppable. I had just become a CEO for Aeon in the year 2013. It kind of felt a little lonely. It felt a little vulnerable. And that's the first time that I realized that it's very, very important for me to surround myself with people who are significantly more smarter than me. And I realized that maybe a more involved definition of leadership is not about being in charge, but about putting the best people in charge. And Six Sigma had completely got replaced by agility and innovation. 2018 to 2020 were literally 2 decades after I had started my career. It seemed like yesterday, but there was one big feeling that I had. I felt tremendously confident about who I was, but none of what I had done was reassuring in any way about how the future is really going to unfold for myself. And that's the first time that I realized that disruption has to start with myself. And it was really in the beginning of 2019 that I decided that I want to call it. I want to call it a quit at Aeon after 17 wonderful, very successful, and very gratifying years.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned from your failures, and what are your views on failure as a subject?
Yeah. I feel failure is over intellectualized.
Hmm.
It's okay to fail. And every time that I've gone and done a post-mortem of failure, I
Yeah,
have actually come only to two conclusions. I've either concluded that I failed because I didn't I didn't give it all that it actually deserved. So somewhere I fell short. Either I was overconfident, I took it easy, or I just did not realize what does it take to get to that point.
yes,
It could be in a smaller setting, like a client pitch in a consulting environment, or even today at People Strong, or it could be in an examination, or it could be in anything else, right? So you underestimate the situation, you overestimate yourself, you
yeah,
underprepare, you don't give in as much, and that's the reason why you fail, right? So in my opinion, the learning from literally every failure in that sense should be, oh, I need to work hard, I need to give it more, I need to prepare more, right? So that's to me a very, very simple. And despite all that, you still fail. And that's just very natural. It happens to the best of the people. It happens to Virat Kohli. It happens to some of the smartest people around us. And the way I look at that, when I come back and say, no, but I actually gave in the best. I don't think I could have done any better than what I did. But yet, I didn't get the desired outcome or I failed in that sense, I actually very easily walk away from that saying it wasn't meant to be. And I do believe that there is a good reason why it didn't happen, despite me giving in my best. And I guess in hindsight, whenever I've looked at it, I always found that I'm in a better place, and there is no reason I should regret a certain failure or over intellectualize it or
Ah,
make it to be a defining moment in my life. So either you got to work harder because you didn't really get your right outcomes, or you got to just let it be and say, I guess there is something better waiting for me, and it's just not meant to me. And I do believe that there is a divine plan, and there are wonderful things to happen.
you've been a leader to many, and I'm sure there have been others who've been a leader to you. So what value what quality do you value the most in a leader, or you think a leader should possess?
Yeah. One life skill or learning that I feel is most needed in modern leaders, and unfortunately, I see less of it, and I wish that they appreciate and practice it more, is balance. Know the importance of moderation, to enjoy the abundance of life. I do believe that there is no trade off between work, love, and play.
Yeah.
As the famous Confucius said, to go beyond is as wrong as to fall short.
Okay.
So, if there is one most undervalued trait of a leader,
Mm.
it is balance. If you talk to most leaders and you try and intellectualize with them about their success or awesome achievements that they've essentially had,
Yeah.
all of them have actually, in my opinion, come at a massive, massive cost. It could be a cost of health, it could be cost of relationships, and I do believe that they could have got to exactly the same place, having the same success, having the same fun, having the same sense of achievement, with more balance in their life. If you get to a point and you figure out that you actually had to give up something which was a lot more important, and I think Steve Jobs in his final words summed it up beautifully. I think that's my learning, and I
So,
think
given the times that we are in, what are the three lessons that we as individuals or businesses should learn from this crisis that entered our lives in year 2019? And
no, I guess this is, at least for the privileged people like you and I, it has been a beautiful moment of reflection.
hmm,
Um, I would actually say the three topmost learnings for me is one, what I've just said, um, just gratitude. And I guess gratitude comes from the fact that many things that we have,
hmm,
again, we are not the most deserving to have it. At best, we could have been one of the most deserving to have it. So whether that's a job, that's a paycheck, that's the security that we currently live in, that's the family that we have, the love that surround us. Don't take those things for granted. Most often we stop listening to people that we feel closest to, and that's because we just take them to be a piece of furniture or very, very granted, that just kind of filled in our lives. And now that we've been locked down with those people, we've just realized, at least I've realized, how little did I actually know or had spent time with them. The second good realization I've had is, the biggest disease in our life is this corporate disease called the busyness. We very quickly intellectualize missing out on everything, missing out on that phone call to our parents, missing out on reading that book, missing out on the exercise that I should have done in the morning, missing out on that prayer, missing out on being on my child's birthday, on making an anniversary dinner to be a special moment for everyone, definitely your spouse. in the garb of being busy. Oh, I was just too busy. I'm sorry. I had that important engagement. I had that important meeting. I missed that out. And if you sit down and intellectualize busyness, you can actually prove yourself right that yeah, you were out of control of that situation, and you missed it for a damn good reason.
Yeah.
And we've just realized in this lockdown that we'd filled up our lives with so much of unnecessary things, including a lot of so many unnecessary people who were taking away our time, that it was a total waste. And now, when we are sitting and living our lives happily, healthily, uh, than the pre COVID, we
Yeah.
realized that, yeah, a lot of that was quite unnecessary. So I guess that's been my second learning, that we don't really have to be as busy as we've always explained ourselves for missing out on health, family, friends, reading, uh, an occasional beer with your friends. I do believe that all of that should have
Yeah.
time in your calendar.
Yeah.
The third has been the vulnerability that the situation has created for all of us, right? And definitely from a job standpoint,
Hmm.
because I do get flooded with so many people who feel very anxious about not just their health in this pandemic, but also they feel very anxious about their job, the security that they have because of it, and so on and so forth. And I've realized that uh, many people have created their identity to be their work, to be their employment, to be their designation, to be the company that they go and work for. And I think it is very, very important to create your identity which is separate from what you do. It is important for everybody to go beyond work and family to define who you are, what else you do, and what else gives you pleasure. And if you don't do that, many of the things that are a very strong part of your identity are so transient that they are going to go away at one point in time, and you're going to feel very, very worthless. And I just hope nobody actually ends up feeling that way. And the journey for that, in my opinion, should start now.
So, how did you make the most of the lockdown? Is there any new skill that you've acquired, or what's been the biggest upside for you in this lockdown?
The biggest upside, I guess, is as I said, as very, very privileged people, very fortunate people.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed the time that I've spent at home with my wife, my kids. Um, I would never confess it in front of them, but whenever my wife would put up videos that we've essentially taken of our two children in their growing up years when they were like few months, I look at those videos literally saying, "Oh my God, where was I when all of this was happening?" It almost seemed like I was maybe present, but I was absent. And I think in many ways, this lockdown has, or just work from home, now that even lockdown has been removed, it's been a great opportunity to be with our family. The second thing that I've really, really enjoyed is home food.
Ah.
I've loved the simplicity. I've loved that my wife's been cooking a lot more. I've been cooking. Um, and I've been very happy that we don't have a help at home, um, because just the quality of food, I think the amount of love that goes into that small amount of cooking that you do in a very simple dish has
Yes.
accentuated. I do realize that why is that Maka Khana is always at a premium than any restaurant can serve you. That's because there's so much of emotion and love that has gone into that cooking, and I think that's the reason I just love home food. And I've always been a runner, so I've always believed in very intense level of fitness.
Mm.
And now that the gyms are shut, and at least in the initial period of lockdown, one really even couldn't go for long runs, I realized the slowness in yoga.
Interesting.
I've loved yoga and the benefits that it's brought to me in terms of increasing my flexibility. And I've realized that it's maybe even tougher than running sometimes if you're not used to it.
There's something that I have been wanting to ask you. So, last but not the least, how do you think your fitness journey, all the running and the yoga and other forms of your cycling and other forms of exercises that you do, make add to you as a leader?
That's a very good question. One, I guess it just brings balance in your own life.
Mhm.
And when I say balance, when you are putting yourself out to a routine like that, fitness is not about doing one intense workout a week or doing it twice a week. Fitness is actually about forming some habits and following them every day. And that gets you to become a little bit more discerning about how much you eat, when you eat,
Hmm.
discerning about even if you want to have a beer, who do you have a beer with? Because you give more focus on that moment because it's not something that you really want to do or indulge in every day with any person that just comes your way and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the moment you become a lot more balanced and centered,
Hmm.
I guess around you, you start bringing in a lot of balance, whether we like it, whether for ill or for good. A leader is imitated by people. So if I bring balance to my work,
Right.
people are likely to bring more balance into their lives. If I'm the one who's going to shut things at 6:30 in the evening,
Yeah.
uh, there's more habit forming that will happen with other colleagues that I work with. If I encourage more healthy food in our cafeteria,
Hmm.
there are people who are likely to understand and become more healthy because we do, in our own impressionable ways,
Yeah.
create role models. And we do want to follow the role models professionally, personally, and in a few other things. So I do believe, I guess, if you create a great energy pattern in you, you end up spreading that energy pattern, and many people might get influenced in a positive way and bring more balanced and hence happiness into their
Um,
lives.
how important is routine? And if it is important, then why? And what about spontaneity? How do we stay young and intuitive yet follow a routine?
Yeah, I think it was Einstein who said that the eighth wonder of the world is the power of compounding. And that to me is routine. Uh, Doing small things repeatedly is routine.
Yeah.
And I think making that into a great habit and following that through just helps you tremendously. And I don't believe that routine and is the opposite or is the other end of the spectrum if spontaneity was on the other end. I guess spontaneity is in terms of your reaction, your expression, your immediate sense that you get whenever there is an external stimuli, and that is not something that gets compromised by routine in any shape or
Moving
form.
on,
I guess.
moving on to the next section. This is short, sweet answers and for some fiery, mirchi, interesting masala stuff. Yeah. So the first question: what is that one thing that you would tell your 18-year-old self?
Uh, uh, Experiences are richer than any promotion, any bonus. Take it easy. Don't be in a rush. It
Hmm.
won't make a difference if you become a CEO at 35 or 45, or if you don't become one ever. But go and chase experiences.
Beautiful. Okay, so a movie character that you can relate with and why?
I loved Amir Khan in Dangal.
Okay, and
Uh,
why?
I don't know whether this is right or wrong. I think many people say it's wrong, but as a parent, do you do sometimes end up living your dreams through your children, and
Hmm.
that's exactly what he did. And the way he shaped his two daughters
Yeah.
to break the glass ceiling, Um, I think it's impacted me, and I do get called a dangal father at home sometimes, and that's a movie that I've watched several times.
Have your kids watched it with you?
Oh yeah, of course.
We have. Okay.
Especially my daughter loves it.
Your one favorite quote.
Bad attitude is the only serious disability you can have in life.
Love that one. Okay. And the top three things in your bucket list.
I want to learn swimming and I want to experience life underwater, so deep sea diving. Even though you don't really need to be a ace swimmer to doing that, but you want to get rid of the fear of water. I really want to go and see that 70% of the planet, which is
Yes.
underwater.
Yes.
Whoever has done it has told me it's beautiful. I'm a runner. I certainly do want to qualify and run the Boston Marathon. I came very, very close to qualifying a couple of years back. I missed it by 45 seconds, so I still want to give it a go.
Of course.
Um, and the third is I left it somewhere incomplete. I want to finish, which was my social enterprise venture called Next Command, which is focused around helping armed forces veterans reintegrate and set up their life post the uniform service with absolute dignity. There is a lot that can be done in that space.
Beautiful thought. Beautiful thought. So, music that inspires you or your go-to song.
I guess every music is beautiful, but my go-to song keeps changing.
Mm,
These days, it is "Counting Stars" by One Direction.
mm. And a book or an incident that inspired you or impacted you.
An incident that inspired me. There was I had a coach, Sameer Singh, my running coach,
Okay.
not just for me, but for many others as well.
Mm.
And one day he's just decided that he's going to do something which is unthinkable and absolutely extraordinary. And he came to me and he said, "Listen, I'm going to run 100 kilometers every day for 100 days." And I
Wow.
said, "Sameer, like, what have you been smoking? This is unreal. It can't happen. Like, has anyone done it in this world?" He had literally no numbers, no statistics. He did not even have a Garmin watch, which is like the watch that most runners
Yes.
wear. And he was not doing it for any Guinness Book or World Record or for any recognition. He says, "I just want to do it. And I want to do it because running is my identity. And I think this is the thing that I can actually do." And before I knew, like after a week, I saw his post on Facebook that he had already completed 3 days of running where he had done 100 kilometers every day. And ultimately, he finished on the 100th day having run 9,964 kilometers. That to me was unreal. What it told me was if you can think, you can do it. If you can conceive, you can do it. And it told me that human being is really unlimited in terms of its potential.
Mm.
And we have no idea how much are we capable of, how much can we achieve. And this is one incident that I lived through. I met him several times during those 100 days. I continue to be in
So,
touch with him.
movie. So we spoke about the movie that you could go back to again and again. Dangal. Is that right?
Dangle, Three Idiots, Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith. I love Hitch.
Yeah.
I love the first edition of The Hangover.
Yeah. And so, do you prefer the mountains or the sea? Your
Oh,
call.
absolutely the mountains. I'm a Himachali, so I just love mountains.
Yeah. And something that you never tire of doing.
I'm never tired of one running,
Hmm.
and I am really never tired of good food.
Yeah. So, what's a moment when you felt your greatest fear so far?
My greatest fear. Uh, I guess when I was deciding that I want to disrupt myself from a great job with a great title at Aeon, and I knew the things that I don't want to do, but I was yet discovering the things that I want to do.
Yeah,
And every time I said, "Oh, I shouldn't take this dramatic step," like who gives away a great job? And I came back and I started writing why is that you don't want to give it up. It was fear, and overcoming that I think was a journey in itself. And other than that, I really don't believe I've had too much of fear ever in my life. I've been generally blessed to be kind of a little fearless.
one insight into Sandeep, one thing about Sandeep that no one knows.
That's difficult because even when I meet my friends from school that I lost in touch with, they would actually say that nothing much has actually changed with me. So what is that one thing that no one would know? Um, Maybe lately, I do believe that there is joy in sometimes being an introvert. Most people would see me as an extrovert. I do believe that sometimes just being with yourself. I do love. I've recently started to love that my own solitude, and maybe that will come as a surprise to many people who've known me for a while.
Wonderful. So, Sandeep, I can't thank you enough for your time, for taking the time and doing this with such grace and pleasure, and just agreeing to be